into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
is
the Morning Bites. Let's take a bite.
I go.
Yeah, he said come over. What? This not coming there.
How come we can get?
I said something. Hey.
Hello, Mr. Jamaica. Yes. This
Say
doesn't
something
make
again. Say something with her.
Something.
But I don't think. Come on. Change the setting and I'll be better.
Good morning. It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
is
the Morning Bites. Let's take a bite.
Good morning. It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
is
the Morning Bites. Let's take a bite.
Good morning. It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
is
the Morning Bites. Let's take a bite.
Good morning. It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
a little bit of some gossip,
and above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
Is
the Morning Bites. Let's
Take a Bite. Good morning! It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip,
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
Is
the Morning Bites. Let's
Take a Bite. Good morning! It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip,
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
Is
the Morning Bites. Let's
Take a Bite. Good morning! It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip,
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
Is
the Morning Bites. Let's
Take a Bite. Good morning! It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all,
Good morning, indeed. It's a very brand new day. It's that time you've got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. It's a Friday edition of the Morning Bite right here on Munati Television, your TV on the go. It's the 6th of October in the year 2023. I don't know how you're feeling, otherwise it's got the last foot because we're heading to the weekend. What are the plans? Let us know where you'll be chilling from this afternoon, even evening. I know some people. I don't mean you anyway. This is another edition. We hope you stay glued to this particular channel. Please do make sure you like, comment, leave us a comment in the comment section and let us know that you are with us and contribute to the topics of discussion that we have for you today right here. As advertised, we're supposed to have a guest from Citizens First Party. That was Mr. Tembo, who is the Lusaka provincial chairperson, but we have rescheduled that appearance. However, we'll get to still interact with him via a telephone call when we need him this very morning as we discuss other pertinent issues in the current affairs segment. I'm not alone in the studio. I'm joined by, as usual, Chinyimba. It's a Japanese Spasangya. Anyway, let me give her a very good introduction. This is Pelija, your pretty girl. Every morning joins me to discuss issues that affect our surrounding, our society. Yeah. Don't forget, she's a doc, always giving us the tips, the health tips, and what we ought to know with regards to that. Good morning, Pelija.
Good morning, good son. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm alright.
Did you join my teachers yesterday?
No, I did not. I was tired. I didn't even manage to do that.
You were
I
tired?
wished them, yes.
You were tired?
Yes.
You just wished them. You never joined them for a celebration.
Yeah, wishing is the best. Even some birthdays, we just wish them, but we don't join them. So I wish them a happy Teachers' Day, and that was good for me. Just that I needed to send people some money, but I didn't. But next time, I'm making sure that I send some people money to celebrate.
How was your midnight watch last night?
It was quite tiring because yesterday I was buying something in Kamwala in town. So waking up was a bit hard, but I managed, though it was a bit hard for me.
At the shopping?
Yeah, I was buying something, I was looking for something, there was something that we had done at home. We are women that are paying bills, so definitely we need to look for something else.
Is that a brag?
No, I'm proud of myself. Being an independent woman, it's so amazing.
How did it get you tired? Was it hard to find?
And no, by coming from work, knocking off, then going straight and look for this. When you find, like, specifically I've got shops where I get my things, but I had to go that side, then the things that I was looking for, the shop didn't have, so I had to go somewhere else.
So you didn't wake up to pray, the watch ladies?
I did. It's just that, there is that thing in you whereby you have specific time is discipline. If you play, let me say, I pray for maybe 2 hours and 1 hour when I'm tired. But today I couldn't even reach it. It was just after an hour, then I was down. So that's the reason I said I didn't do much, because I had to pray after an hour.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so very much. I hope much to prepare that go for beefy.
No.
You know what I mean?
For as long as you're in the nation, Zambia, it's for the nation.
It's for the nation?
Yes.
It's prayers for the nation?
Yes.
For the economy?
And not really for the economy. A lot of things are happening.
What do you pray for? You. Peace has prevailed in the country.
Okay.
There's tranquility.
There are a lot of things that you can't see physically. Life is spiritual.
Yo!
Aside from that, life is spiritual, I'm telling you. So if you
there are
want
things
to
you've
give
been seeing in the spirit that I don't see.
Yeah, if you're in the spirit, you'll see them. Spirits.
Isn't it depressing, like, to be seeing things that other people don't see?
It's very important.
Spiritual battles. When
you have the Holy Spirit, He knows what to show you. And
you mean I don't have one?
According to your capacity. Some of you, if you were to see a dead man passing, and you know that person that's where you can be caught like you're mad. But most of the time what happens is you see things and the Holy Spirit will let you know. So that's the reason you...
So
yeah, definitely when God shows you what you do, sometimes He will show you,
has God been showing you that?
He will ask you, then you pray for them.
This is interesting.
You pray for them, then it stops. So it's not every time you tell them that it brings something. Like I tell you, good son, you're dying tomorrow, then what? You can be mentally disturbed according to health, but I
still feel it's still depressing to same ones. That's it.
No, ours is not depressing. We have the strength. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but to be born.
So you want in short.
I can see if God gives me the privilege. I see.
When last did you have such a revelation? For
the future, a lot of time God will show me. Especially there are certain covenants that we make. Like for my family, nothing happens in my family minus me knowing. It's an error. The Bible says, surely God does nothing but as revealing to the prophets. So, God has to show me what is happening, then I have to make sure that there is a guide. If if it's not God doing, then I have to stop it. If it's God doing, I have to agree with it. Or not.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
So, do you foresee what's going to happen to you before it happens?
Yeah, God give me the spirit of discernment and some impressions. Most of the time it happens to me as impressions. I'll start feeling this thing, then I'll try to inquire from the Holy Spirit. Then when it tells me, then I'll know definitely. So issues of heartbreak, I'll know that this relationship, as I'm entering...
my relationship,
yes, God will tell me that this, you're not supposed to be in this relationship.
When last were you heartbroken?
I don't remember, because since I met Jesus, I've never been heartbroken, because it happens that before...
It has all been well in your relationship?
No, when the relationship ends, God will tell me before I accept, it becomes my will. He will tell me, no, the person that you are trying to be in a relationship is not the right one.
So,
don't enter into this relationship.
Then,
Then, I was no, right now.
This means a different show together. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just take a very short commercial and we'll be back on the other side with the health segment. Don't move. Welcome back. Thank you so very much for still staying with us. This is the Morning Bite, your people's loved show. We're back here. Doc, what do we have on the plate? I almost asked you like Bushe relationship and number. I think let's leave that aside. I'll get to have a date with you properly, and hopefully I give you a chance one day to just speak to the viewers also. Before I go to take a prophesy a relationship, when I like him, the good we really don't know.
That's when they say it's always important to have your friend who is a prophet, so that they will tell you that.
I got a concert to Kuno. Don't. Anyway.
Okay.
It's a privilege to have you. What do we have on the thing?
Okay, on the health tip today we have an amazing topic. It's a BMI. In case you are listening and you are watching and you're like, what is BMI? It's not a car and it's not something else. Including Goods is thinking it's a car, but I'm just going to make sure that you don't feel the same as it's a car. BMI, it's a body mass index. This is where you measure if you are underweight, if you are overweight, or you are obese. So you might be looking at yourself, you don't even know the label where you are, if you are overweight, if you are underweight, as well as if you are obese. Well, we tend to be like, this person is obese. It comes about knowing your BMI. That is where you get if you are obese, or you are overweight, or you are underweight. So according to the definition that I have, the BMI is a person's weight in kilograms or pounds divided by the square of the height in meters or feet. A high BMI can indicate high body mass, fatness. BMI screens for weight categories that may lead to health problems, but it does not diagnose the body fatness or health of an individual. So the BMI I'll give you how we calculate the BMI in case you don't know how to calculate it. But when we are talking about the
BMI.
Yes, BMI. When we're talking about the underweight, there is what we call the underweight. Underweight, those are the people that ranges from let me say 16.3 up to.
Sorry, how much do you weigh?
Myself is 60.
You weigh 60?
Yes.
Gosh.
60. Then if I want to calculate my BMI.
For your height?
My height, I'm 1.2.
You are already 1. Are you sure?
I'm 1. So you're telling me that I'm half.
I'm not even saying I'm half.
No.
I didn't say that. I'm half.
So I'm 1 point something.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but I should.
But you weigh 60.
Yeah.
Is it tiring with your?
Yeah, it's tiring
height?
with my height. That is why you're supposed to know now about how to measure the BMI now. So
BMI. I remember we used to call that BMI immortal.
yeah, okay. So yes. So BMI, this is where when you're calculating, so there are certain things that causes underweight, and there are certain things that causes overweight, and there are certain things that causes
obviously
obese.
Overweight could issue.
Yeah, even underweight when you are not having diet in the normal way.
Balanced diet.
Yeah, when you're not having the balanced diet, and there is what we call the normal weight. So when you're talking about the underweight, it ranges from 18.5 and below. So if your BMI is 18.5 below, then you're underweight. And if your BMI is 18.5 and above, up to 24.5, then you are normal.
To tell you the truth, I'm knowing this for the very first time. I'm actually hearing that from you.
Yes. Yeah. Then you are normal if you are 18.5 up to 24.5. You are normal. 25 to 29.5. You are overweight.
Wait, are these services offered at the health centers?
Yes, they are offered
across the nation.
Yes. When you go there, you say, I want to check my BMI. I can assure you that they will be able to show you. And I want to do my BMI, they will definitely do that, and you'll be able to get your BMI. It's just that it's one thing that we are not, let me say, we don't consider. Yeah, we don't consider when it comes to BMI. So the other one, when we talk about obesity, this is 30 and above.
30 is, when you have 30 BMI, whatever it is, then you are obese.
Yes, you are obese. So 30 and above, you are obese.
What's the normal?
The normal one is 18.5 and above. That is up to 24.5.
18.5 to 24.5.
Yes,
that's normal.
That is normal. 25 to 29.5. That is overweight. Then 30 and above, that is obese. So you might end up not knowing that you are obese. So how do we, let me say, before I talk about certain things that makes
I want to know how it's calculated.
Yes, so number, how do you calculate? Let me talk about it. BMI is equal to weight over height.
So like the way I weigh 80, yeah?
Yes.
I should calculate 80 over 1 point. Is it in micrometers?
Okay, let me.
1.7. Yeah.
Yes. So the way you calculate, your height is supposed to be squared. So that's one thing you're supposed to know. So when you are calculating, number one, you need to square your height. So if your height is 1 point, let me predict, like for Goodson it's 1.83 somewhere there. So if you like that, I'm just assuming. So if your height, okay, let me put it at 1 point.
I can admit I wasn't good in math. So
okay, what? So
I think this needs a very good lecture altogether.
So if your so if your height is 1.73, that is you have to multiply it by 1.7 again. So you need to multiply it. So it's more like if your height is 1.73, you multiply it 1.73 times 1.73, then you get the figure that is about 2 point something. Then that's the one you come and divide with your weight. So if your weight is 70, so you get, if your weight is 70 plus the 2 the two one that you add, then you have to do like your weight divide what you've gotten over your height, then that is going to give you your BMI.
But like that to me, I'm speaking French.
I know.
Truth be told.
That's it. So, see, in a simple way, BMI is equal to weight over the squared height. So if your height is 1.5, you square it. 1.5 times 1.5, that is about 3.
Let me try some calculations over here.
Yes.
Oh, continue.
Okay. Yeah. As you are doing your calculation, you know your height as well. So when you do that, that's where you get your BMI. So your BMI is calculated. BMI is equal to weight over the squared height. So if your height is 1.73, calculate it like that. Then that's where you get your figure. So you find that if you are calculating someone who weighs about 70 kg, so if your height is your weight is 70 kg, then your height is 1.73. Then 1.73 times 1.73, we are getting about 2 point something. Then you divide it, you find that your BMI is going to be in the range of 23.5, somewhere there. That means your BMI is normal. You are on the normal range. But if you are below 18, you find that your height is not matching up with the way you were, meaning your body mass index is low, you are underweight.
Now, I don't know if what I did was right, but what my findings are that I have 37 for actually 38 if I round it off, because that's 37.7.
So you're telling me that you're obese. We'll do the calculation, I'll do it for you.
No, I haven't said I'm obese. I may have missed it.
Above 80, you are obese.
So look, like I weigh, let me say I weigh 80 by 1.8, which is my mass, yeah?
Yes, so 1.8.
That's squared. So is it 1.8 by 2 or something?
Yes.
So that's like 3 divided by 3.6 if I told that one.
Yes, then you try to divide it, yes.
So then
you get your 80 divided by 3.6.
You later said you multiplied by 1.7. What's that 1.7 by the way?
No, 1.7, I was just giving an example of the height. So 1.7 is just the height of the person I was mentioning.
Okay.
1.73, 1.7 somewhere. It's just the height of someone. So if yours is 8, just do 8.8, let me say 1.8.
So it's actually showing me 22.
22, then you are, this is normal, yes. So if it's showing 8, like for good, it's 22.2, that is normal. So if it exceeds 25, you are overweight. If it exceeds 30, you are obese.
So it's 15 to 22. Did you say 15 point something to
18.5 and above.
So I'm 22.2.
Am I almost?
You are normal. No, you are just normal because it's reaching at 24.5. So you haven't even reached.
But I'm almost 24.
You are not almost. That is 22. 22 is not almost.
Yes. So but I'm close to being overweight.
If you are not careful of your diet, you might be overweight, and that will be very dangerous for your life. And we have certain things that causes underweight. Number one, the causes of underweight can include dieting. We tend to forsake our diet. You need to have a balanced diet that can able to make you'll be underweight if you are not balancing diet. If you have diet imbalance, that makes you to be, as well as even in overweight, imbalanced diet, you're having a lot of fat and food that contains calories, then you tend to be obese as well as overweight. But make sure that your food is not, your diet is not in balance, and that you don't do exercise. For those people who don't like to do exercise, these are the results that comes about. You become underweight, as well as you become yes, let me say you become underweight because you don't do you are doing exercise. It could be in excessive, but you're not doing it in the right way. And lack of access to food. Despite of the economy, make sure that you have access to food. That's good. What do? You need to have food. Those are the needs, the basic needs that someone needs.
Basic needs, but they come free.
No, you still need, anything. You still need to look for food. To have something, unless you are fasting. And when you are fasting, that's where you tend to keep glycogen. That's the importance of the sugar that you store in the body. For those who like, some of us, we like to take a lot of sugar in our body, but we don't fast. That's where we tend to have diabetes. When we talk about, the next time that we talk about, brief about diabetes, that's where we understand the importance of fasting. Then body type or poor feeding. In fact, again, that can be the reason why when the child is growing up, you are not feeding them accordingly. The child grew up in a way that they are underweight. So it's very important to feed the child in the normal way so that they never become underweight. And some other reason for overweight, we can talk about food and activity. We've talked about food and activity. That's one way that makes you to be overweight. And some of the people to be obese and to be overweight, it's something like genetic. You know, it's issues of genes.
Then you have no control, eh?
Others, yes, it's issues of genes. You find that you have just inherited from your grandma and your grandfather. But you can still be doing exercise despite of that. You can control it. You can be fat and overweight, obese, but that's the importance of maintaining balance in your diet. You don't take so much fat because in your family, good on. No, you don't need to do that because of the same thing as health condition and medication. Yeah, that as well is something that contributes, as well as what can make you overweight. Stress as well contributes for you to be overweight. Emotional factors and poor sleep. For those people who don't
like stress gets you to be overweight and not underweight.
Oh no, overweight.
Okay.
Yes. You become overweight. You need to be on the normal one. And the other one is emotional factors and poor sleep. For people who don't like to sleep like me, the thing is that we tend to be overweight and to be in the actual sense to be obese when you don't like to sleep good. So poor sleep contributes. So make sure you calculate your BMI. Calculate it according to the way, in case you missed it. BMI is equal to weight over squared of your height or your feet. That is about the way, I don't know your height, you have to multiply it by the same number. You multiply it by 2 in short. Your height by 2, then you get your weight, then you divide it. That is your BMI, your body mass index. That's how you calculate the BMI. Eat healthy. Make sure that your BMI, you are not overweight. When you are overweight, when you are underweight, as well as when you are obese, you experience issues, health problems, and that is not good for you because you need to live healthy. Yeah, I think that what we add on the healthy. Like all people that have calculated their body, their body mass.
Great. My opinion, BMI. Go and have your BMI checked. Just multiply your weight divided by your height by 2. So if your height is 1.5 by 2, that's like 3, yeah? If you weigh 50, divide that 50 by 3, then get your BMI. Thank you so much. When we're back on the other side, we dive deep into current affairs, and I'll be joined by no other than Lakson Kelvin Pugh. Welcome back. Thank you so very much for still staying with us. This is the Morning Bite and it's the Current Affairs segment. I'm joined by Lakson Kelvin Piri right here on Munati. It's not a very strange face.
Yeah.
This is a guy that you know. Lucky. Good morning.
Well, good morning, to you, our viewers. Obviously, every day is a special day, and we just have to usher you into your daily activities by giving you a bite of what's trending, but also a bite of information that you need to go about practically every day.
Good to have you, Lucky. I haven't had a bite with you ever since this show was put in place. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you give me the best of the bites that I have always longed for.
Yeah, we're almost approaching the rain season and mangoes will be here. I love the taste of mangoes, so I'm looking forward to be biting more mangoes.
I hope you don't mean we're having mangoes on it. But that's what should be there.
I'm saying other things are unaffordable.
But no, I'm just a fan of mangoes. Ideally, I've been comparing mangoes to guavas. You'd see how a mango would just focus on building one single seed inside it. It's not even jealous of a guava having so many seeds inside.
You know I'm laughing. This thing can be controversial sometimes.
So yeah.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. Well, like I said, this is the I must say the health segment again. It's a current affairs, and we'll be discussing the alleged shrinking of the Zambia's political space, amongst the other topics. I'll give you some other stories that we have. Amongst them, we have governments reaffirming its commitment to uplifting the well-being of the Zambians. We know what's prevailing economically. Yeah, of course, there's an increased number of I don't know if callers are already engaging, but we haven't opened the phone line yet, so I'm not going to be able to pick any call until further notice. Voluntary service overseas is targeting to empower the young people in different skills in Santia as well as certain districts. So there's also a story that our reporter carried out yesterday. A 26-year-old single mother of the Lusaka's 13 miles area is appealing to well-wishers to help her in purchasing a wheelchair for the 5-year-old son living with cerebral palsy. The Health Professional Council of Zambia has set new dates for registered candidates to sit for professional licensure exams. In sports, we had the Copper Queens commencing their COSAFA title defense with a barren draw yesterday against Mozambique. Expect those, but the big fish in the house is
The alleged shrinking of the democratic space. Lucky is here to get us by deep into that aspect.
It's a good thing that's just alleged. That's what we must acknowledge. We're just alleging that democratic dispensation in Zambia has shrinked. But more also, if we say it has shrinked, the meaning to that is that we're acknowledging that it's been there, that it's just shrinking. But there's another school of thought which might counteract that and say, well, we never really had democratic dispensation or in all. So it's quite a topic that should be considered in all angles. And for me, first and foremost, it should be acknowledged that even before we dive into this topic, just the unity presented by opposition parties coming together is in itself an essential component of democratic dispensation, especially in a country like Zambia, where we do not normally get to see opponent political players tag along and advocate for coherency and advocate for unity and advocate for one common belief. So it was a commendable move just by them being together.
No, it's not the first time it's happening.
Yeah, it's not the first time, but looking at the magnitude, like there were about 9. That was so huge.
Yeah, 9 political parties.
Yeah, that was so huge.
No, okay.
But it's easy opposition political parties coming together than oppositions coming together with ruling.
To just compare notes from the history of Zambia.
Yes, yes. Obviously, seemingly small political parties would team up with the ruling party.
Why small? Why are you saying small?
Because they don't have numbers.
All those 9 political parties, opposition political parties that came together small.
For the opposition political parties, history obviously points that they've been amalgamating and teaming up together. But for the opposition that teams up with the ruling party, usually it's because they are small or they're sort of afraid of what might happen to them should the ruling party continue being in power. So they work around those modalities. They play along those ways. Yeah, and lines.
Well, we saw a day ago, is it a day ago the other day, on Tuesday Wednesday, when the 9 opposition political parties came together at, is it New Heritage Party Secretariat? And we heard that they've written to the President Hakainde Hichilema, and they're requesting, they're calling for an economic endeavor. Amongst other issues they discussed was, of course, the alleged shrinking of the political space and also the economic hardships that Zambians have been subjected to, and they're calling for that endeavor. We have a clip that we would want the director to play, and let's just take a listen at what transpired at the Heritage Party Secretariat, where Shalakateka, on behalf of the present political parties, was speaking. Let's take a listen and watch this.
Number 10, lack of democracy at Parliament and the deliberate stifling of free debate by members of Parliament. Number 11, the management of the judiciary and the recent appointments of new judges raises serious concerns. These recent developments undermine the independence and autonomy of the judiciary and their sacred role to deliver justice. Number 12, the need for an economic endeavor. The New Dawn's neoliberal policies that go to promote multinational, corporate, foreign, and ultra-liberal policies have caused tremendous damage to the economy and to the well-being of our people. It is imperative that a national economic endeavor is convened to build broad consensus on how to tackle the many challenges facing the economy, including the high unemployment rate, slow pace of economic growth, high exchange rate, and lack of liquidity. This will help bring down political tension and curtail the possibility of widespread civil and political unrest in the country. Number 13, the recent consent judgments and the awarding of some very high amounts as compensation for those associated with the president and or the UPND is setting a very bad precedent. Number 14, gender inequality. The gap is widening. The gender ministry needs to be reinstated. Women constitute more than 50% of our population and therefore need to have an adequate representation, just as the youth have a ministry. Number 15, the case of purported abduction by Madam Edith Nawakwi. Recently, Madam Nawakwi was arrested for abduction of the Hatembos. A lady by the name of Rachel Chleshe Katolo came forward to give a statement, and this lady was in UPND, came to give a statement to the effect that in actual fact, it was the UPND that had custody of the Hatembos and not Madam Nawakwi. Some very prominent names within the UPND were mentioned. Why has there been no follow-up? What have the law enforcement agencies done with this information? Will it be swept under the carpet? Number 16, investigative wings reporting to State House. This undermines the integrity and therefore does not inspire confidence as regards the independence of these investigative wings. Number 17, breakdown in health facilities. We draw your attention to the mortality levels in the country and wonder as to whether you are being adequately briefed or you are ignoring the brief that the health sector has suffered under the New Dawn government, to the extent that today, for example, the cancer center that was once a flagship center is virtually non-operational. As a result, hence the increase in mortality. Should you require an independent voice on the same, please consult dignitaries from foreign embassies. Conclusion. Consequent to the foregoing, we now demand that, number one, a national endeavor involving various stakeholders with capacity to offer cogent solutions to resolve the plethora of issues currently facing the nation be called. Such a national endeavor could become a national rallying point, helping lead to the unity of purpose that has been lost in the nation. Number two, the national endeavor be held as soon as possible. It is in the best interest of both the ruling and opposition political parties, as well as that of Zambians, that the nation embarks on a trajectory of unity, peace, growth, and prosperity as soon as possible. We remain in service to the Zambian people, opposition political parties. We thank you.
Sincerely apologize for that, really. But yes, that's actually what transpired at the New Heritage Party. Amongst the political opposition parties that were present was, of course, the same New Heritage Party by Chalakateka, the Socialist Party. There was the Patriotic Front, like you could see. There's
Economic Front,
Citizens First, and so on. There were about 9 in total. And those were the issues that they raised.
So, first and foremost, Goodson, what they're alleging that there's a shrinking space for democratic dispensation in Zambia. I must say it's sort of a fallacy to believe that. One, when politicians say the democratic space has shrinked, what they're referring to is political conduct. But democracy is not politics. Politics is a component of democracy. There's a media space, which is a critical component of democracy as well. It has opened up. There is the rule of law. Obviously, you've seen more order and orderliness in general. That's part of democracy. So for them to allege that it has shrinked, it's a fallacy. But components of democracy have shrinked according to them. And I can tell just by basing on the fact that a PF rally could not be held, a Socialist Party rally could not be held, and just yesterday government was accused of allowing social cash transfer in an area where council elections are taking place, and such activities are seen to be vote buying. So in that context, definitely there is shrinking
in the democratic space.
Yeah, in the political sense. In the political
yeah.
sense, and not really in democratic dispensation as a whole. It's not as it used to be before, where even media houses could not run independently. For now, we've seen a more stable environment for media operations, and for me, that's a plus, especially that I'm from this sector. I've seen tremendous and incredible progress in the opening up of civil liberties, and for the general populace, really. But it's a concern for political players with those highlighted activities and unfortunate turn of events where the police seems to manhandle or political players which are sort of on the opposition sides, and then those in the ruling party, they always seem to know when the oppositions are having their assemblies. They always seem to know when the oppositions have done something wrong. They don't seem to know when it's the party in power which has done something wrong. So, and you could tell that they somehow seem to be operating from a point of directive in how they conduct themselves.
Yeah, but what do you make of
the unavailability of security or police presence when every time or an opposition political party applies for permit to hold rallies and whatnot?
Actually, they actually show up in numbers. The number of police that shows up at a rally do not allow the specific rally for a certain political party to go through is actually more than what the police would prescribe to be the ratio of maybe police to people at a particular point of gathering to manage the rally, because the police cites security concerns, so they need enough police to handle the rally. So sometimes they would say there's inadequate manpower to handle a specific point, one rally here and there, but then they would show up like a huge number of them to not allow a rally go on, you know. So it's a bit of a concern if they say that they lack manpower, but then they show up like 100 of them with state machinery to stop more than the required number. So in that context, it's really a huge blow on democracy as well. But again, we can point at several other aspects that have happened under the UPND government. They hosted the Democracy Summit, the second.
And with the hosting of the Democracy Summit, we expect at least we really don't expect what's going on. You've just pointed out how they contradict themselves, the police. When going to stop the rally, they are in numbers.
And then when you're applying for
exactly,
there's inadequate manpower. Oh yes, so kudos for hosting the Democracy Summit. I believe that was on the 29th up to 30th.
Of course, you were a delegate, I'm sure.
Yeah, of March. So it was the second Democracy Summit that the world has ever hosted. The first was obviously in the US in 2021, and then Zambia was accorded this chance. So credentials obviously rose up for Zambia. But again, if you look at how democracy is given a narrative here in Africa, Zambia has for the longest time been called to be a beacon of democracy. But then the same democracy is sort of an African democracy. It's not the democracy that maybe Western countries would subscribe to be an ideal democracy. So in as much as Zambia is held to be a democratic country, it's in an African context, you know. And usually that means just having free and fair elections, and just usually when they say democracy, we're referring to multiple political parties participating in elections. But democracy should be beyond such ventures. Democracy means we should be able to have a democracy that delivers economic progression, a democracy that sees to it that a mother of four is able to trade freely. A boy from a rural part of Zambia is able to acquire an education and have all these incentives that are accorded to, perceived investors, foreign direct investors in Zambia. As Zambians, we need to have all those incentives to ensure that democracy is really working, rather than just having elections after 5 years and then after that period again go back and wait for another elections. Democracy must work throughout, early as what are the daily routines in terms of the economic outlook that we're able to participate in as citizens. All those are components of democracy. People need to eat at the end of the day. So if you're having a democracy that won't allow you to have food on the table, then it's as good as not having it.
And another concern,
which guys, you've mentioned eating. Economic hardship was another concern that was raised at this press conference that was held by the opposition political parties. Chalagatega stated the fact that it's worrying to see Zambians suffering from severe economic hardship, which the UPND government has failed, according to her, has failed to handle despite a number of pronouncements and promises.
It's not just according to her, I think there's a general consensus. President Hichilema, before ascending to power himself, once said that you can't teach democracy. That's what he had said, and he's on record of saying that. So, and then just the overall economic outlook, we could tell, despite having low inflationary, single digits. The GDP still is sluggishing, you know, and we are not able to have more liquidity in circulation to sustain ourselves. We have seen a number of policy implementation and pronouncement that focuses on investment and support of small businesses, but all this, if you check on the ground, there seems to be nothing to be done. The increment of CDF itself, I believe we were supposed to do sort of feasibility study. It's a good thing, but again, if you see how it has transitioned over the past two fiscal space that the UPND has been in power, you cannot really point at a certain project to say this is the outcome, that somebody applied for a CDF loan and they have sustained themselves. We are seeing a number of people, a huge chunk of people actually applied for CDF, but 3-6 months down the line they go broke. Others even failing to pay back these loans that they apply for. So it's the monies that we are getting, the small loans, are only used for immediate needs that are there. So
no long-term plans.
no long-term plans, no tangible outcome. So it's working in the immediate term, but we need to sustain us. We need economic ventures and programs that are able to sustain us, not in between, going back and forth, applying for loans here and there. When you apply for a loan once, I think you should be able to sustain yourself and eventually pay back so that it can be extended to other people out there. But a lot of people that have applied for these loans are not able to pay back, because when you get the loan, the market is different. The kwacha against the major convertible colors is also something else. So you do not really invest in a particular business because, again, the capital tends to be low, at the time when you had applied, and then obviously you have been an energy crisis, so business operation is not as effective and efficient anymore, and just several other economic ventures that the UPND has really, I cannot say they have failed to manage, but are mismanaging in a way.
Okay. This unit time. Obviously, it's there. Is it what they call work on training or job on training or something?
Job on training, not really. I mean, the UPND has been in government for technically throughout 2001. They have had MPs in government, so we cannot say job on training. The president also is...
Well, it's quite different when you are now the one in the driver's seat.
You could be on board all along, but you've been occupying the back seat. Get to the gears yourself when you face real life.
No. I think he's an established politician. He has actively participated over time. Yeah, so we cannot say it's because of that. But again, metrics of economics are different. So perhaps you might need to give him time. You could see even when he had formed government, it took a lot of time to just get to appoint cabinet ministers. So obviously he was kind of settling in, but for now it's over 2 years. Things must start unfolding. Obviously there are those other investments and policy pronouncements that would take a long period of time to mature, but we need something immediate. And the most noticeable factors that the opposition and other stakeholders in general have raised is the removal of subsidies, which came as a shocker to the ordinary Zambians, because then it means they're able to run their daily routines, transport costs, and implementing ZESCO fees as well, electricity tariffs. Those are issues that negatively and directly affect the people on the ground, So when people say there is economic hardships, really they're referring to government's insistency not to switch to quarterly review of fuel pump prices, perhaps. They're referring to implementing fertilizer and I can say.
But world over,
fuel pump prices is reviewed in some countries daily. The way we get to have exchange rates every day.
But yeah, it's like that. But then you need to understand what we've got Zambian-owned indigenous Zambians that are doing business. So maybe by the time you order your goods outside Zambia, it will take probably a month for your goods to be here to reach Zambia. And in that 1 month, obviously, maybe if you had paid 30,000 to import goods outside Zambia, by the time they'll be coming here in November, fuel prices would have changed. So meaning they'll incur more fees, even depreciation of the currency is not much stable, so you don't know really what will happen next. So as a result, traders and those involved in business would preferentially just decide to add more, maybe just add more to their values and goods so that they do not make losses. And for them, most of them actually taking advantage, even when they have not made a loss, they'll just refer, no, you know what, I ordered these goods because the watch was not doing well, or now if you implement here and there, so logistical, obviously incentives are not there, so I sacrificed more. Even when they do not sacrifice more, people can be gloomy and at some times.
That's business.
Yeah, but again, you need to be honest. Business has to have a sense of morality and not just doing it because they need to make profit. It's good to serve a purpose. And if you are a Zambian, really, I don't see any reason why you should even be at the forefront of scamming your fellow Zambians. But it's business, we understand. They are also strangled to death. So all these are issues that people are raising, and obviously the opposition coming together to say we need an alternative to this one. And for quality's sake, earlier in the day, the presidential communications specialist, Claire Masaka, did confirm that President Hichilema has been open for dialogue and has confirmed that he's willing to undertake this economic endeavors proposed the opposition. So we're looking forward to that endeavor. Hopefully they get to set the date before the end of this year and see the outcome. I would love it to happen before the 2024 fiscal year, so that we need to plan deliberately and purposely, and also focus on things that might work out in the 2024 budget in that context.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. Really, it's evident. I don't know how you what your comparison is in the political space, apart from the sanity you talked about, politically, cadreism and whatnot, comparing the current government to the past regime.
Well, again, it's quite funny. Because I'm not a politician, I wouldn't. But then, given
you're a resident analyst, hence my invitation to you.
I'm a public policy analyst, so I think riding on several submissions that we have seen from those directly affected, the politicians themselves, they are saying it's actually more worse. Because under the PF, you would have cadres disturb you, and not the actual state machinery disturbing you. And when a cadre disturbs you or invades your space, you as a citizen could reciprocate in a manner that feels like, because then it's self-defense. But in a situation where you have state machinery running after you, in that case, you cannot sort of defend yourself. There's been that allegation as well. Even party presidents like Haile Galaba, at one point he was saying the president himself was involved in deregistering his party, the Liberty Party. That's issues in the public domain. So there have been several other incidents where the president was on record with his political advisor, it was on record of having said things that are not in support of having a more multipolar political dispensation in Zambia, has been accused of several other things.
Those are just accusations, yeah? Because we even saw the president congratulating kind of after registration of his party.
The Citizens First Party, yeah. Did we see him congratulated? I think
You missed that.
I saw him congratulating KBF after the formation of Zambia Must Prosper Party.
Should check it out.
Yeah, but he did that. Congratulations to him as well. But it means Mr. Garba as well might just be petty in a way, because he's been alluding to the president as being directly involved in
Politics.
Yeah,
Politics, my brother. Politics.
you call it politics. Well, it's a state of affairs.
What else would I
Call it, if not politics. This moment, this one is alleging this other time, the other one is. I mean, this is
No, but again, even when you look at how the UPND itself has spent much of their time focusing on PF, controversial jogging of the president and things like that, I think these are petty issues that the UPND should be above. Yeah, they're really petty issues. I don't see any reason why they would, for instance...
but we've seen the president, the former president, chanting where's jogging and having all these people around him, and what does that really imply?
Well,
that's why they've been asking him to just come out in the open and tell them, are you back? Are you active in politics?
Well, even if he plans to be back on the political scene, I think it's none of their business. It's really none of their business.
No.
Their concern is that, look, he's being treated as the father of the nation, he enjoying all his privileges as a retired politician. You get it, eh?
No, but again, that's what the fallacy is. Him being treated as the father of the nation should not be determined by the UPND. That is a constitutional guideline.
Privileges
for a retired former president.
And those things are not conferred by the UPND.
Of course not.
Yeah. But there's a way he is expected to conduct himself as a retired president.
Yeah, there's a way that he should present himself, obviously, as a former head of state. Once
So
the former head of state...
Don't you think is
he a threat to the UPND?
Not really. He's not a threat at all. He hasn't publicly declared interest that he plans.
he just...
Is it just the other day when you were saying I'm pondering on my return, whether to or not? What do you make of that?
Well, you see, from where I stand, I think President Edgar Lungu, if he chooses to, yes, it's got his right, obviously, constitutional right to run for his seat again, and that is his preserve. But whether or not he chooses to, should not be the concern of the UPND right now. The UPND, since they were ushered in power, we have seen them focusing on PF. Any issue that comes about, they compare it to the PF. I think they must live above such petty issues. And I regard them to be petty issues because they must know that the people of Zambia entrusted them with a mandate of 5 years. So no matter what PF does along the way, it's still them with the powers to decide what to do. And among the things that they had promised the people of Zambia, obviously, tolerance of divergent views. So Mr. Lungu being, a thorn in their flesh, they just consider him as the political opponent in that regard and just move on with what they had promised to the Zambian people. But I see it quite unnecessary, even in a way where they start now having conferences and press briefing just discussing Mr. Lungu. No, that should not be the way forward.
He is a rival of yours. Then after you have fought and they are seated, and then you move ahead. Then people know, they're coming after. Wouldn't you be concerned, really?
No, I believe the biggest contender, political contender to the UPND is alarming poverty levels. Secondly, lack of people's free participation in the economic space. So by that I mean there are certain things that should be a preserve of Zambians. Those jobs are seemingly being taken up by foreigners. That should be a concern to the current government and any other government that might just come up after the UPND. We need to understand that when people entrust you with power, when people entrust you with a position, it's really your responsibility now to be accountable. It's really your responsibility to implement those things. It's like you are a driver of a car, like Elia said. So him being in the driver's seat, it doesn't really matter whether a passenger says, take me this route, because then it's you who knows the direction. You know, there are people that come into Lusaka for the very first time. They cannot distract you to say, I'm going to Kamwala. You're the driver that knows where Kamwala destination is. So they have to get on the bus, and just you as a driver, you must reach them there with trust, obviously, knowing that you have entrusted you. So there's no way along the way you should start maneuvering around, you know, and then you come to Kamwala and things like that. That's literally what's happening. And I expected with the appointment of Mr. Mweta, obviously, that things would change. But also, he's starting to spend time on responding to PF. Obviously, it's part of his job, but he's literally spending much time on things that do not really matter. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Mr. Mwetwa, he is currently, well, in the next minutes, about 15 minutes or so, he will be having a press briefing at the Ministry of Information and Media. We are yet to hear what will really come out of that press again. Otherwise, we'll call it a day for this particular topic. But before we go, there's a story, a very touching story of a 26-year-old woman, single mother of Lusaka's 13 miles area, that has appealed to well-wishers to help her in purchasing a wheelchair for her 5-year-old son living with cerebral palsy. She says it is a challenge for her to raise her son as she has no one to support her, as she is also taking care of her mentally ill father. The 26-year-old narrates how she has to leave her son alone in the house as she goes in search of means to raise money and put food on the table. Celestina Mbewe gives us the report.
This is a 26-year-old single mother of Lusaka's 13 miles area who is facing a dilemma of raising a 5-year-old son living with cerebral palsy without any financial or physical support. She says it is a challenge for her to raise her son with no family to support her, as she has also taken up the role of taking care of her mentally ill father. The 26-year-old narrates how she is forced to leave her son alone in the house as she goes in search of means to raise money and put food on the table. Cerebral palsy is a condition marked by impaired muscle coordination or other inabilities typically caused by damage to the brain before or at birth. There is currently no cure for CP, but adequate care and treatment can improve the lives of those with the condition, especially when treatment programs are given as soon as possible. Reporting for Munati TV News, Celestina Mbewe in Lusaka.
Well, quite a sad story over there. We hope any well-wisher would come, would get to their aid and see how they can help you.
But again, before even you look out for a well-wisher, shouldn't there be structures that supports this, especially under the CTF guidelines?
I was almost thinking of that, like the CTF and decentralization of all these things. Is it there a policy or just like you've put it a guideline on? Because those are community matters, yeah?
Yeah. Those are community matters. And I think they
Public
take
policy advocate.
Yeah, they take a step and just reach out to the local leadership, area councillor. You might be in a good position to assist. Otherwise, a very bad state of affairs.
But sometimes local authorities take time. People would rather just go for it.
Anyone would rush and bureau therapists, whatever they are called, to. I mean, we wish them the best. Otherwise,
not fair. That's an emergency. I don't think. She's looking at 2 family members.
Yeah.
As well.
And
that's a lot.
Mental ill father.
as well as a cerebral palsy patient and a very little boy, for that matter, who has to be left alone as the mother goes out to fend for the family of 3, one ill, mentally ill father and the child, the son. I mean, quite a very sad story over there.
We can do. We see if we can link them up to their member of parliament in that area and see what happens.
Who's the area member of parliament for?
What?
Is it 13 miles? 13 miles. I don't know what area exactly, but that's 13 miles. Is it under what's that? Material.
After material, what constituency can
A bit way far now.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Mandevo should be I don't know. Maybe Mandevo constituency. Well.
Anytime is not best of our friends. Let's take a look at what we have in the world of sport before we wrap up the show. So, the Zambia women's national team commenced their bet of the COSAFA title defense with a barren draw against Mozambique at the Lucas Maribe Stadium in Pretoria, South Africa yesterday. So, Bruce Mwape's assistant Florence Mwila led the Copper Queens in a match which did not produce enough goal-scoring chances. Where is Bruce Mwape?
First of all, that's relatively a new team, so we must not take away anything or everything from them. Yeah, it's a relatively new team, so the girls did their best. And I think in building up new structures, dependable structures, I think it's the right way to go than just having these other structures of Barbara Bandes and the like, what happens is written out there. So this approach is quite different, and for them to even at least put out a draw, it was something commendable from where I'm sitting, but not encouraging them again to put up a draw, looking at how the other team within the Group B did. Angola obviously beating Comoros Islands to 5-0. They're currently at the top of the table. So if they win another game, obviously it would be bad for us. It would be bad news for us. But Bruce Mwapesbo has done quite a tremendous job in mentoring the girls and the likes of, and obviously assistant Florence there. Also, we must bear in mind that the girls, many of the players from Red Arrows were not in action due to military training. So this is like a build-up to a much more resilient new set of players, which is very good, apparently.
We wish the Copper Queens the best in the
Second match in this.
But they're defending champions again.
Of course, they have to defend by August.
They can be kicked out in the group stages.
Anything is possible.
Yeah,
South Africa was.
Angola.
Whoever thought South Africa would be beaten by Mozambique or Botswana the other day?
Chipolopolo coach Abraham Grant has also named his 25-member squad for the back-to-back international friendly matches during the October FIFA window. Football Association of Zambia FAZ has lined up friendly matches against Egypt and Uganda on October 12th and 17th respectively. So Football Association of Zambia says the 2 matches are being used as a preparatory games for the November round of FIFA World Cup qualifiers, which will be staged in Dubai. Grant will be without the injured duo Lamek Banda, who's an international player for Leeds, and Frank Kimsonda of I United. The technical bench has struck a balance between local and foreign-based players, with the Saudi Arabia domiciled Fashion Sakala,
making a return after missing out on the group, on the final group H after a Cup of Nations qualifier against Comoros due to the suspension. Oh, I actually forgot that he didn't make an appearance in that game. Good, we won it. Zambia is preparing for the FIFA World Cup qualifiers in November, where they play Congo, Brazzaville, and Niger.
So Grant is also training the qualifiers as a build-up for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations.
But we lost out on the bid towards the Africa Cup of Nations.
That's the... Then if I started disqualifying non-heroes, meaning we had remained with Mwanawasa.
But where did we go wrong?
I asked myself the same questions.
To think of Tanzania being...
Yeah, because some countries that have hosted like Senegal don't really have capacity.
That's the thing. What is putting into consideration? What are the prerequisites really for? I really don't get it. CAF should explain.
Yeah, they really should explain, because if we are given an analog of what things that do not really go right for us, then from there we can pick up. But if nothing is too close,
but we've heard of
plans to have heroes rehabilitated for some time now, but nothing is going on.
But it's still up to national standard, international
Heroes?
standards. Yeah, it's
when last were you at Heroes?
Heroes is still a
The
big
beach
station.
is
I think-
okay, the
yeah.
chances are fine, but the facilities, I think there are all those things
Worn
they
out.
put into consideration. Yeah, it's worn out.
But that's FAS jobs. Again, they make a lot of money out of that stadium, so I don't know.
I think they already contracted a South African contractor too.
A South African?
Yeah!
Wow.
It's like we don't have capacity.
Mr. Kamanga, how?
They've contracted a South African company to rehabilitate heroes. You expected a Zambian?
Yeah.
Like what?
It really doesn't make any sense. You never see a Zambian contracted in South Africa.
Yeah, of course,
Capacity issues.
Anyway, and for me, I've always been an anti-sports advocate, especially when it comes to having. I love those South Africans have structured their league, and they don't really plan to play outside. Even young South Africans, they'll just wish to play for Mamelodi Sundown and things like that. But you look at from a Zambian context, we always have dreams of playing at Manchester.
Of course, you look at the competitiveness of
The
the
league
league.
in a particular country. Like South Africa is far.
they're comfortable with
Zambia.
payments and things like that.
Exactly. Even
It's
Just
a lucrative business.
It's very competitive.
But it was
In
up
our
to
sports
me.
is competitive, is business by the way. So
If it was up to me and the authority in Zambia, do you know what I would do? I would ban wearing of jerseys, especially those in Europe, by any soccer fan here in Zambia. 2, I would ban streaming of European soccer on Zambian TV. 3, any person found wanting should pay a fine or be sent to jail for 6 years. Like, really? Imagine. Married
they want to promote logo.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense that it's for you to cut it off. Maybe for 2 years, just out. Anybody that wishes to watch that should sacrifice their own bundles. And
so
not
we lose out from watching Premier League.
yeah, we shouldn't have it on traditional media. You know, we shouldn't. It's a scam, really. It's really a big scam. I think
It's very interesting to I mean, his philosophy is
it's a big scam.
It's a big scam.
Yeah. European soccer is a big scam.
Our beautiful esteemed viewers,
I think this is where we just get to say our goodbyes. Please do make sure you catch us on Monday the same time. And just a note to you all, we are rescheduling the timings for the program. So expect in the morning by to be starting at exactly 7 hours in the morning every day from Monday to Friday, starting this coming Monday. From me, Gutson Banda, on behalf of Pelagia, Lucky Kelvin, Laxon Kelvin, Piri. It's interesting to have Lucky Son Kelvin Piri, all the names.
and you are here advocating for local, and yet anyway.
Just look at you before we wrap up.
What's on Walia Banda?
I've had friends who were named best Piri, and if you ask them why they are best, they'll tell you probably my father had the best pie at that time, so they named him best. So if you think of good song, just know something.
We're accomplished from the eastern, bro.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. We've had a very good interaction with you, with Lucky, with Belinda earlier, and every other thing. We appreciate your support. Please do make sure you continue. You keep us moving. Thank you so very much from me and the entire production crew here at Munati. This is where we say our goodbyes. Have a productive weekend ahead. Good morning.
After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
Is
the Morning Bites. Let's take a bite.
Good morning! It's a brand new day.
Well, it's that time you got to wake up, do some work, so rise and shine. After a long good night's sleep, it's time to take a bite.
A bite into some trending stories.
A bite into the foreign exchange markets.
A bite into some healthy tips.
A bite into the current weather forecasts.
A bite into some sports.
A little bit of some gossip.
And above all, a real bite into some delicious snack. Join us every weekdays as we focus on issues that affect our communities and the world at large that are worth sharing, discussing, and if possible, debating.
This
Is
the Morning Bites. Let's take a bite.
Amweto. Kudi nyumnari kuti.
Iwe sama dalanga.
Wapenyi.
Iwe mwauka.
Nulendo wapoto. Suno hapa nari kwenda kutini nyone ko shuga paja. Mbona imva iwe nkani yomwe ibwera koi.
Gani bwaji?
Wapenya pa Munati iwe.
Kuma program yomwe ya Munati. Baba. Pomwe hapa wapenya baba. Ni program yomwe ikamba pachani ba.
Inde suno ije program baba. Nari natambako panono baba. Nengopeza tiara alangurati pangani ya mabini. Mabini baba anyanya mkomboni. Ma eri pregnancy. Sikambika kumwe kumunati. Zomweza kuti ma business baba. Kuti unaimvera ti ma street vendor bana basije.
Inde makamaka baba.
Anangono kusapa saure makolo bawe. Suno ine nari kungouka nimangoti mesofia ko kuti hai nyamene iyi program baba.
Lomba baba yomwe iyi program ya wapenya pa Munati TV baba. Ni zembali.
Iyamba baba. Isabatala maba. Inde suno yomwe iyi program kapena muri ma TV. Mungatuninga ku Facebook baba.
Baja unakamba kuti ngati ulibe TV ungaione bwanji program.
Suno iyi program baba.
Ukatininga kuti pa Munati baba. Munati television limited. Yabwera. Yabwera mene.
Amweto. Kudi nyumnari kuti.
Iwe sama dalanga.
Wapenyi.
Iwe mwauka.
Nulendo wapoto. Suno hapa nari kwenda kutini nyone ko shuga paja. Mbona imva iwe nkani yomwe ibwera koi.
Gani bwaji?
Wapenya pa Munati iwe.
Kuma program yomwe ya Munati. Baba. Pomwe hapa wapenya baba. Ni program yomwe ikamba pachani ba.
Inde suno ije program baba. Nari natambako panono baba. Nengopeza tiara alangurati pangani ya mabini. Mabini baba anyanya mkomboni. Ma eri pregnancy. Sikambika kumwe kumunati. Zomweza kuti ma business baba. Kuti unaimvera ti ma street vendor bana basije.
Inde makamaka baba.
Anangono kusapa saure makolo bawe. Suno ine nari kungouka nimangoti mesofia ko kuti hai nyamene iyi program baba.
Lomba baba yomwe iyi program ya wapenya pa Munati TV baba. Ni zembali.
Iyamba baba. Isabatala maba. Inde suno yomwe iyi program kapena muri ma TV. Mungatuninga ku Facebook baba.
Baja unakamba kuti ngati ulibe TV ungaione bwanji program.
Suno iyi program baba.
Ukatininga kuti pa Munati baba. Munati television limited. Yabwera. Yabwera mene.
Amweto. Kudi nyumnari kuti.
Iwe sama dalanga.
Wapenyi.
Iwe mwauka.
Nulendo wapoto. Suno hapa nari kwenda kutini nyone ko shuga paja. Mbona imva iwe nkani yomwe ibwera koi.
Gani bwaji?
Wapenya pa Munati iwe.
Kuma program yomwe ya Munati. Baba. Pomwe hapa wapenya baba. Ni program yomwe ikamba pachani ba.
Inde suno ije program baba. Nari natambako panono baba. Nengopeza tiara alangurati pangani ya mabini. Mabini baba anyanya mkomboni. Ma eri pregnancy. Sikambika kumwe kumunati. tumwise kuti mabizinesi baba kuti unaimvera ti ma street vendor wana
inde makamaka baba
anang'ono kusapasa ule makolo bawe suno ine nali kungouka nimangoti mesofia kuti hayi nyamene iyi programu baba
lomba baba yomwe iyi programu ya wapenya pa Munati TV baba ni zemba liti
iyamba baba isabatala maba inde suno yomwe iyi programu kapena muli ma TV mungatuninge ku Facebook baba
paja unakamba kuti ngati ulibe TV ungaione bwanji program
suno iyi programu baba
ukatininga kuti pa Munati baba Munati television limited yabwera